And I want to call out the failure of the government and the parliament's committees, government majorities, to actually do their job. The House Economics Committee, as we heard the member for Goldstein rabbit on about earlier, and the Joint Standing Committee for Corporations and Financial Services. These are powerful committees, always described as such in the media. In fact, the Joint Corporation for Financial Services Committee has one of those rare own motion inquiry powers. It can actually go and initiate inquiries into anything without a reference from a minister or a House of Parliament. That's a serious power and a serious responsibility. It's got formal responsibility to inquire into the activities of ASIC and the Takeovers Panel, and also has purview over the ASX, the ACCC, APRA, AUSTRAC. The committee is required to examine the annual reports of the Financial Reporting Council, the Australian Accounting Standards Boards, Australian Auditing and Assurance Standards Boards, and the Company's Auditors Disciplinary Panel, amongst others. Under Labor, these committees did serious and important work. I'll give you an example. Under former Labor chair of the Joint Committee, Bernie Ripple, 10 years ago, they launched a serious inquiry into the collapse of Trio Capital that assessed the failure of the regulators in a very methodical way, brutal way, some might say. They handed down a serious report into the regulatory system and the serious reforms that were needed to overhaul it, which were then implemented. Bernie Ripple was also responsible for the future of financial advice reforms, landmark reforms as they were described and still are. This mob, though, little serious work. So far in this term of parliament, the Joint Committees handed down 2 reports. 2 reports in 2 years. In the last term, they handed down 5 in 3 years. The term before, they handed down 4 in 3 years. Yet in the last term of a Labor government, from 2010 to 2013, there were 21 reports in 3 years. This committee did serious work. It was taken seriously by Labor members. They did important landmark work which has stood the test of time. This mob, under the Liberals, has been failing to do their job on these committees, off on ideological frolics and personal political vendettas. One of the 2 reports that the committee's done this term was into litigation funding, an ideological pursuit by a bunch of extreme right-wing backbenchers trying to get their names in the paper, senators and members. Politically motivated inquiry that was trying to make it harder for ordinary Australians to access justice in the courts. Shut down public interest litigation, that was their objective, and a few little wrecks on the way through to weaken corporate regulation, weaken disclosure requirements. What did the stakeholders make of their work? They said it was a great day for the corporate cowboys to weaken disclosure of corporations. I mean, the committee's work got bagged by everyone, and that was only one of the 2 inquiries. It's no wonder, with that kind of work, that the Royal Commission said, well, we need some more oversight in this area. But then there's a member for Goldstein in the Economics Committee who stood accused last term of misusing the committee shamelessly for political purposes and party political objectives. He was accused, I quote, of improperly using taxpayer-funded inquiry into Labor policy, racked up more than $200,000 of travel bills, hotel bills, car bills, room hire bills, to have a series of public hearings, or better described as public circuses around the country. They didn't actually have formal witnesses like every other parliamentary committee I've been on. They were just kind of free-for-alls, like an angry mob they whipped up, telling untruths about Labor policy. Worse than that, though, they colluded with private interests. His own relative, Jeff Wilson, who founded a company that's managing $3 billion of funds, including 2 that the member for Goldstein had a personal interest in, which he didn't declare at the committee hearings.
I just want the member for Bruce. I'm just going to caution the member for Bruce just to be very careful.
I'm being very careful. I've researched this and I had a look at exactly what was reported, what was referred to the Privileges Committee in the Speaker's report. This is all factual. It's a fair caution and it's all factual.
Member for Bruce has the call.
Stood accused of coordinating the committee's hearings, not doing serious work in the regulators, running a public circus around the country, having a crack at the Labor Party, not doing their job of examining government policy or looking where regulation could be improved, running a public circus on the taxpayer bill around the country, coordinating the committee's public hearings with a private company's meetings, set up a dodgy website. This was all referred on. Initially it was a personal website on his Liberal Party website with the Commonwealth logo on top, where if you wanted to register to come to the hearings, first you had to sign a petition and give your details, which were then used and mined for a Liberal Party database because people got spam, and you had to sign the petition to be allowed to come to the hearing. Then there was the fundraisers that were held around the committee activities, and then, Deputy Speaker, I'll keep my words brief because I know you can't respond from the chair, but it was the Deputy Speaker here who was handing out membership forms for the Liberal Party at the public hearings. Now, this was referred to the Speaker. His report noted that the actions failed, I quote, to conform with the conventions usually adopted by Chair of the House Economics Committee, and specifically called the handing out of Liberal Party material as inappropriate. Now, the member for Goldstein, of course, has a great advantage over most of us in this place. He really does. It's not his intellect or his judgment, his intelligence, his charm. He has no shame because he's at it again this term. This nutty personal idea to use superannuation for housing. As everyone has said, serious economic commentators, even the former Treasurer Joe Hockey, that's just like pouring petrol on the fire of current house prices. Just putting more cash in people's pockets as they go to bid at an auction pushes up prices. It's all demand side. You don't make housing more affordable by making it more expensive. You may as well put a vacuum cleaner into your super account to suck the money into the pocket of the guy selling the house, because the only people that benefit from this policy, being driven through the House Economics Committee by the chair, instead of doing serious work oversighting the regulators, running a political proposal, the only people who benefit are people who already own houses. Let's be clear on that. Member for Goldstein owns 5 houses. He's declared them on his register with his husband. He owns 5 properties. It's not the people trying to get in the housing market who benefit as house prices go up. Now, to his credit, the Treasurer said no. Member for Goldstein pushing this idea, this is his big idea that he's using the committee time on this term. He wrote to the Treasurer and said, I want to do an inquiry into this. You know, have another circus to beat up Labor. The Treasurer said, yeah, but no, we won't be doing that. He's not deterred, though. He was out this morning, still pushing the idea, bagging his own government. I mean, perhaps that's clever, you know, looks like he believes in something. So pushing demand-side measures through the House Economics Committee, not oversighting the regulators, hence the need for this bill and the Royal Commission's finding. I mean, incredible hypocrisy, whilst he's also out actively opposing investments in housing by superannuation fund. So, Deputy Speaker, I make the point that we do support this bill. The Royal Commission found it necessary to recommend it. The government's doing it in a minimalist way, not really committed to it. But we have to call out the failure of government members, backbenchers, to take the parliamentary committee processes seriously to date. Now, there's been a revolving door of chairs, I think, of the Joint Committee, and I do hope that your chairmanship, which has started out well, early signs, you know, reserve judgment, but I do hope that we see an acceleration in work and a degree of seriousness which has been lacking for 8 years under this government. 2 reports this term, 4 reports last term, 5 the term before that, 21 under Labor, who took this issue seriously. We wouldn't need legislation like this. We wouldn't need more bureaucracy and more regulators. The Royal Commission wouldn't have found it necessary if government MPs had been doing their job and not running party political services, misusing committees of the parliament, wasting taxpayer money.